Inside the house, she stopped to examine the front door. It was steel. The door had 4 hinges and 3 deadbolts. The additional bolts were positioned near the top and bottom of the door. Fahey had built an excellent defense. He'd done everything right, but someone had managed to break through his barriers. That shouldn't have happened. Mercy heard voices upstairs and followed. 2 crime scene techs directed her and Eddie down the hall to a bedroom at the back of the house. An increasing buzzing sound made Mercy's stomach turn over. It was a sound she'd heard about but never experienced for herself. Eddie swore under his breath as they turned into Fahey's bedroom, and the medical examiner glanced up from her inspection of a bloated body on the bed. Mercy had been right about the source of the noise. The room vibrated with the low roar of flies that had discovered the corpse's orifices. She avoided looking closely at the distended belly that strained the buttons of its clothing. The face was the worst, unrecognizable behind the black screen of flies. The medical examiner nodded at the agents as Mercy introduced herself and Eddie. Mercy guessed the medical examiner wasn't much older than she. She was tiny and trim, making Mercy feel abnormally tall. Dr. Natasha Lockhart introduced herself, peeled off her gloves, and laid them on the body. "I understand he was known to the FBI?" she said, lifting a brow. "He's on the no-fly list," Mercy said. The list was one of a few the FBI used for its terrorism persons to watch. Ned Fahey had been on it for several years. The corpse on the bed had a history of brushes with the federal government. Sovereign citizens and right-wing militia types were his preferred company. From the reports Mercy had read on the long drive from Portland, she gathered that Fahey had talked the talk but had been unable to walk the walk. He'd been arrested several times for minor destruction of federal property, but someone else had always been the ringleader. Fahey's criminal charges had seemed to slide off him as if he were coated in Teflon. "Well, someone decided they no longer needed Mr. Fahey around," said Dr. Lockhart. "He must have been a sound sleeper to not hear our killer enter his house and place a weapon against his forehead." "Against?" Mercy asked. "Yep, even under all the flies, I can see the tattooing of the gunpowder in the skin around the entry hole. One nice hole in and one out, through and through. Lots of power behind the round for it to go through that cleanly." Dr. Lockhart grinned at Eddie, who swayed slightly as he stood by Mercy. "The flies brush away easily enough, for a moment." "Caliber?" Eddie asked in a strangled voice. Dr. Lockhart shrugged. "Big. Not a puny .22. I'm sure you'll find the bullet burrowed in something below." Mercy stepped forward and squatted next to the bed, shining a flashlight underneath, intending to see if the round had gone into the floor, but the space under the bed was crammed with plastic storage containers. "Of course it is." She glanced around the room, noticing the heavy-duty trunks stacked neatly in each corner. She knew exactly what the closets would look like. Floor-to-ceiling storage neatly labeled and organized. Fahey lived alone, but Mercy knew they'd uncover enough supplies to last a small family through the next decade. Fahey wasn't a hoarder, he was a prepper. His life centered on being prepared for Teowaki, the end of the world as we know it. And he was the 3rd Deschutes County prepper to be murdered in his own home over the last few weeks. "Did you handle the first 2 deaths, Dr. Lockhart?" she asked. "Call me Natasha," she said. "You mean the other 2 prepper murders? I responded to the first, and an associate went to the second. I can tell you the first death wasn't nice and neat like this. He fought for his life. Think they're connected?" Mercy gave a smile that said nothing. "That's what we're here to find out." "Dr. Lockhart's damned right about that first death," said a new voice in the room. Mercy and Eddie turned to find a tall, angular man with a sheriff's star studying both of them. His gaze grew puzzled as it lingered on the thick frames of Eddie's black glasses. No doubt the residents of Deschutes County didn't see a lot of hip 1950s throwbacks. Mercy made introductions. Sheriff Ward Rhodes appeared to be in his 60s. Decades of sun exposure had created deep lines and rough patches on his face.